Hello everyone, my name is Jesse Lee. I'm a master's student for industrial engineering, and this is a Module A question from IE6560, Deterministic Optimization. And what I'll do is we'll go over the Simplex model, and if we have time we'll go over the dual model as well. So for the initial Simplex Tableau, what you see here is our initial objective function, and then subject to, and we have three constraint equations here, followed by each of the variables and them being greater than equal to 0. So let's get started. We're going to start out here, and we're going to rewrite each of these constraint equations so that we may be able to formulate them into the proper table. So we're going to rewrite this over here as x1 plus x2 plus 2x3, and then as you see here it's less than or equal to 12. Now less than or equal to, what you're going to do is you're going to add an s every time there's a less than or equal to. So add s1, and then now that you've added your s, you can make it equal to 12. Second line here, 2x1 plus x2 plus 5x3. Now you have an equal sign, right? Every time you have an equal sign, what you do is you add an artificial. So you add an artificial variable. We'll name that A1. And then equal to 20. And then our third constraint, excuse me, x1 plus x2 minus x3, and then you have a greater than or equal to 8. So every time you have a greater or equal to, what you do is you subtract an s. Here we already have an s1, so we'll put s2, and then after we subtract an s, we have to add an artificial variable. So since we already have an a1 in our second, we'll say a2, and then we make it equal to 8. Okay. And then now that we have written our three constraints, we can start our initial Simplex Tableau. So what we do is first write our CJ, and then basic variable, and then quantity, and you write this out for every single initial simplex problem. And then you gotta write your variables. So we have x1, x2, x3, right? We have x3s, and then we have s1, we have s2, we have a1, and we have a2. Okay, so you can draw a line. This is what we're working with for this problem. And then we write our basic variables first. Now we have three constraints, so we're going to have 3 lines, or 3 rows rather, and we always start with the artificial variable or the s variable. So here, for the first equation, we'll say S1. Second equation is A1. Third equation is A2. And then from here, we have to write our quantity. Our quantities are shown on the right hand side of the equation, so it'd be 12, 20, and 8. Okay, and then for CJ, that is based off of our objective function, which is this line here. So from here, x1, we know that's 1. So we'll just put this above here. And then maybe we can draw a line across here. x2, we got 2. x3, we got 2 right here. And then notice how there's no S1 or A1 or A2 here. So we'll just add, for S1s, we'll add 0 as coefficients. And then for A1 and A2, we're gonna put a large value, and we'll denote that large value by the letter M, which is short for million. But here, notice that it's a maximized question. Maximized question, you always do minus M. In a minimized question, you would do a plus M. But here, because it's a maximize, we do a minus M. And then same thing, S1 here, we have 0. A1, we have minus M and minus M. Okay, and then we're going to fill it out. We're going to write for x1 here, we've got to write our coefficients, 1, 1, and for x3 there's a 2. S1, there's a 1. And then notice that there's no S2, A1, or A2 in the first constraint. So we'll just put 0 for all of those. Second constraint, we have 2 in front of the x1. We have 1 in front of the x2. We have 5 in front of x3. And then we have only A1, so we'll put a 1 here. And then the rest, we can put zeros. Third constraint, x1, we have 1. x2, we have 1. x3, we have minus 1. S2, we have minus 1. A2, we here have 1. And then fill the rest with zeros. Okay, so now we filled up our table, we draw a line, and now we're gonna denote a variable called ZJ under the basic variable chart column. And what ZJ is basically adding up your quantity multiplied by your CJ. So here we have 0 plus 0 times 12, which is 0, minus 20m, and then we're going to add that with minus 8m. So that's, we have minus 28m. And then here we have 2m plus negative 1. So we have, add those two together, negative 3, and then minus 1, we have negative 2m, and then minus 5, minus m, so that's plus, right? So minus 5 plus 1m is negative 4m, and then 0, 0 is 0. 0 times negative m is 0 plus negative m times negative 1 is m. And then negative m plus 0 is negative m. And then 0 times 1 plus 1 times negative m is negative m. Okay? And then from here, we're going to do either Cj minus Zj if it's a maximized question, or if it's a minimized, you would do Zj minus Cj. Here, we have a maximized question, so we'll do Cj minus Zj. And you're just going to subtract this top column, which is the same thing as this column here. So this is the Cj row here, Cj row, and we're gonna subtract that from the Zj row right here. So you go 1 minus negative 3, so that'd be 4m. Then you do 2 minus negative 2. So actually one mistake here. It's not 1m, right? It's just 1. So it'd be 1 plus 3m. And then 2 minus negative 2 is 2 plus 2m. And then 2 minus negative 4 is 2 plus 4m. And then 0 minus 0, 0. 0 minus m is negative m. And minus m minus negative m is 0. Negative m minus negative m is 0. Okay, and that is the completion of the initial simplex tableau. Now, how do we read this? What are we looking for? Basically, what we're trying to do is see what will be the entering variable and what will be the leaving variable. And our first step to that is by looking at the last row and looking for positive numbers, right? And here we have 3 positive numbers, x1, x2, and x3. Now, what we're looking for is the largest number out of all of those. And what is our largest number here? It'd be the 4m, right, which is larger than 2m and 3m. So this is our column that we're going to pick. And notice that that is the x3 column, right? And then now from here, this column that we chose, we got to choose a row. Now, for the row, what we're looking for is the smallest variable row. And here you can see from x3, since this has already been chosen, we got to divide our quantity by our x3 amount. So here it'd be 6. 20 divided by 5 is 4, and 8 divided by negative 1 is negative 8. Now, notice that negative numbers are not counted and zeros are not counted. So this we can automatically eliminate. The smallest number out of these 2 rows will be this row, because 4 is smaller than 6. So we've identified our column and our row. From here, we can say our A1 is going to be column X3. So here we've identified our our entering variable, which is X3, and our leaving variable, which is A1. And that completes the very first stage of the initial simplex Tableau and how to formulate it. Hope you have a great day, and feel free to keep practicing. Enjoy.